Say, Employee a Million, aren't you a little late to discussing the recent season of Phineas and Ferb? Yes, I am. I'm gonna do it anyway. Hey, it's Employee a Million. Back from a very long hiatus. I'll explain a bit more about that at the end of the video. And I just wanted to talk about the recent batch of episodes of Phineas and Ferb, which came back this year. I've said before that Phineas and Ferb, if I had to pick a favorite cartoon, that would be it. I just find it so funny, so charming, so imaginative. It came out at the right time for me as a Disney Channel kid, and I'm just happy it's back. Nothing ever ends if there is an audience for it, but some things do change, and there were a few changes that they had to make just because it's been a decade since Phineas and Ferb was last in production. A couple of the voice actors have changed around. Ferb is no longer voiced by Thomas Brody's Sangster. He's now voiced by David Errico Jr. He's doing an alright job. They still only get him to do 1 or 2 lines an episode, so that doesn't make much of a difference. Jeremy's voice actor is completely different too. They no longer have Mitchell Musso. I think it's because he had some legal troubles a few years ago. Maybe Disney blacklisted him for that, but currently we don't know who is voicing him. He isn't listed in the credits, or they aren't listed in the credits. Maybe it's his long-lost brother, Rachel Russo, but I wouldn't really know yet. Another change is with the animation. The first 4 seasons were hand-drawn at places like Rough Draft and Wang, but now it is rigged at Snipple. And I have seen Snipple start to get more work, and it could just be because of the way the animation industry is going, but I'm not saying that they're bad at their job, but just that they must have some very tight deadlines because they're who you get if you're trying to save money and time, and that is absolutely what Disney is trying to do with this new season. Give them more, but don't pay as much to the animators, which is a bit sad. You can see that in the animation. It's not as fluid as it used to be. There's moments that are pretty good, and I'm grateful are in there. And there are a few little moments where they're trying to go back to the more off-model vibe of season 1, but as a whole, you can kind of tell it's puppet rigged, and it is a bit distracting at first, but I eventually got used to it. I'm just like, okay, this is a new style. This is where animation is now. I can live with it, as long as the writing is still good. And for the most part, it really is still good. I still had a lot of fun watching the show. Currently, we are 13 episodes into a 20-episode 5th season, with the 6th season set for next year. And so far, some things haven't been completely tied up, but they have been started. One of the things in the first episode is Linda saying that she wants to spend more time with the family this summer, and I thought, okay, that's a plot point. That's going to be what it's about. It's going to make it a bit easier for Candace to be able to bust the boys. But that's only really for that first episode. That there are some cases where it's like they're hanging out somewhere, but that really isn't a recurring theme as much as that first episode made it seem. Maybe they'll go back to it later, but as of now, it just seemed to be for that first episode. Maybe they will return to it. Things have started to change. They're all a year older since this is the second summer, so Candace now has a license which she can use to get to places faster, to bust the boys faster, or at least try to. So far, she's only really driven twice, but I think that is a good advancement of her character. Just give her just that extra little bit of leg up to raise the tension, you know? Character dynamics are staying about the same as they were at the end of season 4. You've still got Vanessa going out with Minor Monogram, but now Doofenshmirtz knows what could happen there, who knows? Major Monogram and Carl are interacting still. There is one episode that ends with Major Monogram giving Carl a little bit more respect, but we already kind of did that with the Where's Perry 2-parter, so currently those characters are staying about the same. It's an okay place to be, but still, I'm really wondering if they're going to give some sort of big development to Carl that'll shake things up. Finabella shippers have had, like, once every couple episodes, a good tease, but as a whole, their relationship is not really as big of a focus as people were hoping. That's fine for Isabella. She has had some pretty good moments and episodes. I really like where they took her in the Cupcake War episode. It's like, how long can she keep her cool? But I don't think that it's been the best for Phineas. He's still a very bland character like he was at the end of the show last time. And I really hope that changes soon because there is so much you can do with Phineas as a character, and I really don't feel like they're really tapping into that as much as they could. But still, we've got 7 episodes of this season left that'll later in the year and into 2026, and hopefully they start to change things around. Hopefully something really does come out that makes people remember Phineas is the main character, even if he is probably the least interesting character in the show sometimes. The last episode to air currently has had Baljeet and Irving kind of work together on a project, and I was thinking, oh, that could be an interesting place to take it. You know, have these two who are clearly inspired by Phineas and Ferb, Baljeet being a really intellectual person and Irving just being obsessed with Phineas and Ferb. Maybe they could collaborate and even form a bit of an invention rivalry with Phineas and Ferb. Maybe that could be cool and interesting, but as of now, it's only been the 1 episode, so I don't know if it's just a one-off pairing, you know, when long-running shows start to just put everyone with everyone and see what happens. I see the potential in this one, though, which I think is hopefully why they did it. As for other character developments, Buford at the moment is really eager to build a bread bowl hot tub. Because of how quickly he said it at first, I thought he was saying Red Bull hot tub, and I'm like, is this season sponsored by Red Bull? But no, it's a bread bowl hot tub, and that's one of the new running gags. He'll bring it up sometimes as like, hey, can we make this one yet? And I think they're saving that for a big occasion, just to give him his time in the sun, and he's had a few little moments that remind me that he's a pretty cool character in his own right. So, yeah, overall, the characters are how you remember them, but there are little changes that I think they will start to make and will probably take them somewhere that's new and exciting. With this first batch of episodes, it's fine that it's same as ever, but I really am hoping for something that could really push the show forward while staying true to itself. Because we've already got that development with Stacy now knowing about Perry's identity, and that has been followed through on. Maybe it could be followed through on further, but maybe it could just be like 2 or 3 more episodes of that over the next few years, and then it's just never brought up again. Show's back off again. Bye-bye. Hopefully that doesn't happen. These are characters that I really like following and seeing what happens next to them, even if their world is very stagnant in terms of what can happen. It's just a good show in terms of how versatile the characters are, and I'm glad that that stayed the same. It's also stayed a very funny show because I was laughing a lot at all of these episodes. I mean, it's not super laugh out loud funny, it's not the funniest show ever, but you've always got those moments that are like, oh, that's charming, oh, that's sweet, oh, that's really good character comedy. And I'm glad that they're still able to do that. I don't think it's as funny as the original run was. It's still good at providing what I want out of it, so it is working. They have acknowledged the memes, they have acknowledged the 2 nickels meme, and there's a platypus controlling me. And they have so far been doing it in moderation. You know, sometimes long-running shows can get quite self-congratulatory about all of the memes that they have created, all the iconic jokes they have made, but at the moment, it hasn't been, like, too embarrassing, like they're too stuck in the past or anything. As I've been over, they have been testing out new jokes, and I think they're working. Songs are still good. I'm glad that they haven't stopped making good songs. There aren't many songs that I would classify as, like, amazing toe tappers yet, but it's probably because they're new and I haven't listened to them as much. There were songs that were, like, very big and promising, but haven't left as much of an impression on me, like the Hat song. I like Alan Cumming, he's a good singer. I have thoroughly enjoyed his voiceover work this year, but the song is just kind of okay. Now that we're on the topic of episodes, I'll just list off some of my least favorites so far, and then go to my favorites and what I really liked about them and what I hope to see more of in the future. Like a lot of people, I was a bit disappointed by Meet Me at St. Louis. I really do feel like it was just made as like a checklist. I mean, the first Meep episodes were amazingly funny and interesting and cool, and oh, we got to go to space, but here it's like they just stuck Meep into this other episode about blending all the seasons together, and it doesn't really coalesce in the way that they wanted, so I hope if they're forced to bring Meep back again that they do something a bit more out there and fantastical rather than just bringing the aliens down to Earth and expecting that to be the funniest thing ever. But my least favorite episode so far was the Ballad of Boba Doof, because it's just like, what? Doof has this cousin who lives in the swamp and he's like this hillbilly, and it's not that you can't make hillbillies funny, but it's just like, okay, this just really didn't go anywhere. The Phineas and Ferb plot was funny, and that's what I like about this show, is that you can have one plot that isn't really doing much for you, but the B plot can be funny. I think that's the silver lining to this show, that even the worst episodes, they're so densely plotted that you're gonna walk away with at least one decent story most of the time. Some people might have expected me to have a problem with the Candace suit episodes, and they have been a bit controversial because they're a lot darker and weirder than usual for the show, and in general, season 5 is a lot darker and weirder. So far, it's like, okay, they're dipping into horror sometimes, but if there's way more horror in the next 7 episodes of this season, then I will say that they've pushed it a bit too far, but so far, it hasn't been too intrusive. It's like they're telegraphing very clearly what's a horror episode and what isn't. Which leads me into one of my favorite episodes of this current batch of episodes, The Nightmare in Asia, where we kind of just look into some of the characters' dreams and nightmares and see what frightens them, and it's really telling a lot about their psyches. Like, Perry's nightmare has gone from just getting his cover blown to that and hurting or even killing Phineas and Ferb, and I think that is going to lead somewhere, even if it doesn't lead to a revelation. I feel like this is setting something up for his character and his dynamic with the family. Buford's nightmare is about being, like, intellectually outclassed by his friends, and even though the, like, big hyper-evolved brain thing is this campy, pulpy nonsense, it is really telling that, you know, Buford feels like he's the dumb one of the group, and he's not the kind of character to be super outspoken about that, but I'm gonna keep that in mind. There's also Candace's dream of, it's just the same as ever, but it's a fantasy world. That could be saying, like, she's afraid of losing touch with reality. Isabella's nightmare is sort of like, bits of it retread the Cupcake episode, but I think that's kind of saying, oh, this has affected her. Maybe it's gonna do something about her confidence in her leadership of the Fireside Girls. I'm not entirely sure what they're setting up and what they're gonna pay off, but I enjoyed this episode as like a little tour of everyone's subconscious, except for Phineas, apparently. Another episode I really liked was Deconstructing Doof, where both Doofenshmirtz and Candace have the same therapist, who turns into a conspiracy theorist who's connecting the dots like, wait, these two characters, their world is always reverting back to normal even though every day around them is insane, so I must tell the world. And it's a funny little comedy of errors it turns into, just like it usually does, but I really do think that this is a bit of a stretch that they have the same therapist, but still, it's the funny part. The funny part is that it's a stretch. But my very favorite episode of these first 13 was Tropey McTropeface, because, come on, who doesn't love Tropey McTropeface? I mean, they got Michael Bublé to sing a song about it. I think it's my favorite song of season 5 so far. I think that it is really charming how they're sort of paying tribute to the medium that is bringing them to life, because how many people these days know what a zoetrope is? Now, plenty, thanks to Tropy McTropeface. So, that's just my thoughts on season 5 of Phineas and Ferb so far. The next 7 episodes are going to air on Disney Channel later in the year, and then going to be put on Disney Plus in 2026. And given how many people these days are watching streaming over broadcast cable, especially considering Disney Channel is no longer operating in a lot of countries, including my own, maybe it's time to sail the 7 seas, I don't know. But thank you for listening to me and putting up with this hiatus. As I said in my last update video, I just needed to slow down and take stock of everything that I have done and sort of readjust what this channel is about. I really am enjoying making this video about my favorite cartoon, so it's like I do want to just sort of streamline it a little, hone in on some of my very favorite shows again, rather than trying to get through them all. I will still do the reviews that I promised this year, like Harvey Beaks, I Am Weasel, Magic School Bus, those and a few others, but also I do want to express my fandom of specific shows more openly, rather than, just being like a generalized animation person. That's been fun, but I do want to have more focus in my life and in this channel and just be myself, So goodbye for now. There will be a Harvey video soon, not the full review, but it will be of my favorite episode, just a separate video of that. And again, thank you for putting up with this big hiatus, but Employee Million is back. Baby, we're back.